you maybe don't know this, but for many years I was very excited about the music of Luciano Berio, as I was a musician, performer, building up my music in the 80s, 1980s. There was not much connection to the European world for us improviser, experimentalists. We had to find our own connections. So I found a connection to Luciano Berio through the voice of Kathy Berberian, because I was building up my voice, and then heard about her and began to investigate what Kathy Berberian was doing, which led me very quickly to Luciano Berio's music, which has this huge vocal component, the voice in all levels, as a vocalist, as actor, as character, as narrator, as moderator, as singer, as extremist. The voice is very powerful and present in Luciano's music throughout, as far as I know, throughout his history. So I was excited about this, and I decided for myself in the 90s, when I moved to Berlin, I said, now I have a chance. I would love to meet Luciano Berio. In fact, I think I could, my voice could be interesting for him. I don't know, I would hope he would find something exciting, or like to use me or include me. I was a younger person. Maybe I can meet this wonderful composer. But of course, I had no connection to the Italian music scene. I had zero at that point, and I had no way to reach, no good way to reach Luciano Berio. But around '94, I was playing in the music of Heiner Goebbels, the German composer, theater maker. And I was playing in several of his pieces. And one of them that started in '94 was called Surrogate Cities, a long evening-length orchestra piece for two voices. A woman's voice singing some songs with more normal melodies, and my voice doing experimental sound and text. And we had a concert, one of the concerts of Surrogate Cities for the big orchestra, turned out to be here in Firenze at this train station, very close to Temporeale, just across the river. It was kind of a ruin. In 96, 97, 98, it was not fixed up yet. It was a mess a little bit, a big empty room. So we came to Firenze, and I did not even have a thought in my brain that I was close to somewhere physically near Luciano Berio. I didn't think about it. So we did the concert, and it's a beautiful concert, and I sing a lot, like crazy. And at the end of the concert, I am in the back room where they gave me as a dressing room, which was actually a room for the conduttori of the trains, not really a dressing room, but where they keep the guys who take your tickets. I'm in this room, and I'm a little sweaty, and after a concert, you're a little bit spacey, you play a concert, you're a little bit spacey. I'm sitting in the room and knock on the door. I say, come in. And the door opens, and there's a man, not so tall, Italian man with a jacket on, and he says something very quickly in Italian. Scusi, Luciano Berio, fantastico. And I said, he says fantastico. I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I didn't hear his name. I didn't hear what he said, because I was, And I said, thank you, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And he just said, okay. And he went away. And I'm sitting in the room. 5 minutes later comes the conductor, the conductor, my friend, Peter Rundle, comes in. He says, David, did you meet Luciano Berio? He wanted to talk with you. I said, I was starting to scream. I said, I can't believe it. I'm going to go crazy. Wait a minute. And I ran out of the room. Really, I did. I ran out, and I ran around the whole train station. Maybe I can catch him, maybe he's still, of course not. I missed him. And I went home. I was really depressed when I got back to Berlin. And I called everybody I know who could possibly have a connection to Luciano. Then I found someone in the Ensemble Moderne who said, well, we can give you the number of his manager, and you can call. And so that was the entree. And I called, and I sent the fax, I think. Excuse me, desolato, I can't believe it, I'm so sorry. Maestro, please forgive me. And I love your music. And he sent me a fax back and said, I want you to be in my opera. And I want you to be in Cronaca, just boop, like that. And it was really a gorgeous shock. So that was the meeting with Luciano. The first meeting came wonderful, connection, although we didn't really meet. We almost met. And then the process began where I came several times here to, more than several, here to Temporeale, to work with the team here, to develop, to give them the idea of what I could do with my voice, because Luciano had heard me, but I also have many other sounds, many possibilities. So I was demonstrating for the team here and for Luciano also when he was here, the sounds I can make with my voice and the ways I can move my voice, which is a little bit different than most singers, the speed of changing I have. And then he would ask, Luciano would ask me, can you do this? Can you do that? And I said, well, you know, yes, I do this. I can make loops. Oh, you make loops. How do you make loops? Oh, I have my own little equipment to make loops. He said, well, we can't have any of the equipment, but we will be making a system for making, so you can make loops on your body with triggers. You will have wireless triggers on your body, and you can make a loop and sing it. And we will. So this began to develop. So Luciano had very strong ideas, and it was great. I was totally happy to try to give him what he wanted, because that was the reason to do it, to give Luciano what he wanted. And I have, in fact, I have one video in my collection of the process here in the next room. I have one little video. Yeah, where I have this video where I do a section of the piece, and Luciano says to me, David, it's need to be more wild, you know? I said, oh, more wild. That's my specialty, no problem. No problem. I'm happy to be more wild, you know? So this was, you know, from the beginning, it was a beautiful connection, because what I did, he wanted. You know, I mean, when you are a musician, many times what you do is not what the composer wants. They have something in mind. That is, you can try to do it, but maybe not. So we did, in this way we did Cronaca del Luogo, and Talia Berio made the libretto, and I learned it and I memorized it, blah, 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 and we did Cronaca, and it was a wonderful event for me. And at the time, I learned in 97, 98, I learned to meet the people who were working here, very open-minded team, you know, of course, working with Luciano, and at that time, Thierry Cauduit was the sound maestro, you would say. And he was my partner in making my sound, so it was not at that point Damiano or Francesco Canavese, or it was a different, slightly different crowd, but it felt really nice to work together, and I was excited because it was a chance for me to be outside of my normal world. My normal world is big enough, but you get information when you go outside. A little bit, you learn more and you change and you develop. So for me, it was a chance to develop my style and my ideas to do that. So okay, so that was a very strong first meeting, you know, to be in the opera of Luciano, and for the first time to sing in the Salzburg festival, which is like almost impossible for my kind of singer. In fact, I do believe I was perhaps the first, or maybe the very close to first improvising singer on the stage of the Felsenreitschule. And I mean, I don't know any other improvising voice of my world, but so I'm happy about that. And Luciano gave me that chance. And in some way, I felt as if a father-son relationship with Luciano, although he was not so much older than me, but because I came from a different scene, you see, I came from a different world, from the Italian music scene. We had no big barrier between us, no institutional, cultural barrier. Yes, I was American, and yes, he was Italian, but I was not part of the world of Luciano Berio. I was an outsider, so we could make jokes together, we could laugh together. He could say, hey, David, more wild, you know, and yeah, Luciano, maestro. And I remember after the premiere in Salzburg, when the first show was over, I was after I changed got my costume, and I went into the hallway where everyone was happy in the hallway outside of the dressing room, and Luciano and Talia came in, and I just said, Maestro, I hope I didn't mess up your music, you know? And he said, oh, David, it's perfetto. For me, it was like a really beautiful relationship, you know? And in fact, not many people know this, but in Salzburg, I had a meeting in their home where they were staying with Luciano, because I asked Luciano, would he ever consider to create a version of the voice solo for male voice? Not only for female voice, but for male voice. And could I do it with electronics? And we talked about that, and he said he was interested in that idea, and we could think about it more further, to develop this sequenza for male voice, which would be a dream, for me. Unfortunately, it never came to happen, but that was a great event. So, all at this time, I had the new knowledge and new friends here in Temporeale, and Cronaca was finished, and that was 1999 was Cronaca, 1999. And then Luciano died, unfortunately, in 2003, I think. And I kept somehow contact with, now here, with Francesco, Jomi, and somehow contact was alive. And they invited me here for one of the festivals, or for maybe it was the Fabrica Europa festival, I think, in the train station. They said, let's do a piece together. Let's do an event together that is dealing with transformation of the voice, so we can deal with our area and you can deal with your area together. And we need to have, this was the idea from Temporeale, that we need to have an object that we are using somehow, some kind of transformational center. So it's something not like it's a music stand, or it's a something. So I thought about this at home, and we had some discussions, and finally I said, let's build a table. It took me, I made some crazy drawings, and I made of the table, and I thought we could use the idea of a very basic object which everyone has in their home, a table, in their kitchen or in their living room, which is means daily life. It means what we live with, the table. And that would be the center of action. And the transformation of a daily table into a music instrument or a sound maker, all of it disturbed and activated by me, but transformed and mutated by the sound world here, So that was the physical beginning with the table. And then came the question of what exactly would happen with my voice. And we had the very, very big interesting issue of visibility of electronics or invisibility of electronics, which for me is as a singer, I feel very strongly that my voice is visible, my body is visible. That's the reason I'm on stage. So if I do a piece with electronics, I don't want to make my voice or my body invisible. I don't really, unless I agree to, that's the idea from the beginning, I want to have somehow the electronics functioning as usable objects that someone can see. It's almost like you're driving a train, the thing is it's almost like old style sound. The electronics are not old style, but the way to generate them, the activity is old style, So I was trying to combine very old style with very new style in some way, because I feel when you make invisible electronics, you close the dimension of people lose the dimension of connection. People now lose a connection to the world. If they close their eyes, why should they look at invisible electronics? There's not much reason. They look at me, maybe. But if a sound is going on and it's an invisible transformation and you don't know why it's happening, you close your eyes and you get into the sound, which is okay, but not really my way. So we had a big discussion about this, and kind of not argument, but a philosophical nice discussion about what it would mean, and to the point where the table became the holder of water. So the table opens up and there's water inside the table, which is completely the wrong thing to have with electronics. To have a table full of water with cables basically under it and around it, this is like, whew, this is not really what we want, because it's dangerous in terms of technique, But these were the challenges that we gave ourselves, and the team here, Francesco Jomi and Francesco Canavese and Damiano, they were all going as far as they could go with me. We all went as far as we could go to make these challenges work, you know. And therefore, a new piece came, a theater piece, a one-person piece came out of it. But the table was a character. It was a big. The table was a big personality in this piece, and all of the sounds that and the mutations of the sounds that Damiano liked to make were possible, but they were initiated in ways that somehow we both felt gave visual life to me and the table. So it was this kind of a ongoing compromise without losing either of our identities, you know. And this was a gorgeous thing. It's a rare thing to have a compromise that is meant to make something more interesting. Most of the time, compromise makes something a little bit less interesting, you know. But we had this wish to go further. Everyone on the team, which is why one of the reasons I felt so good to keep the connection here. So in this time of developing the Table of Earth, the three of us, Francesco Giomi, Francesco Canavese, and me, we began to realize we had some interest in making something together. That was a collaboration, a musical collaboration, and in fact would give them both the chance to perform and to play, not only to be behind the scene as sound creators, manipulators, but to be involved in live music, because they do that, they both do that. And also, this is a rare thing in many ways, that you have people who are on both sides of that world, who want to play, who also want to make sound, and they want to do both, and they feel strong about that. So because of the time we had together before we started Many More Voices, before this, I had a good feeling for these guys. I mean, for me, if I'm going to sing with someone, I want to feel good. I want to feel like it's a pleasure to do it. You know, that it's a pleasure to. I care that the music is great. I want the music to be great, of course, but you cannot always control this. The music is not always great. So therefore, I would like to have some fun. At the same time, I don't want to be depressed and to be a depressed composer, performer who never enjoys. Oh, it wasn't perfect, I hate it. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to think about perfect. If it's perfect, great, you know. If it's not perfect, let's enjoy our time together and our game. I always use the word game because I think game is a beautiful word in the idea of the old Latin, the sort of ludus, this idea of playfulness, play, to be playful, that there is no end result, there is no winning of the game, there is only the playing of the game, which results in a kind of every game you play, in my mind, every game results in a new field of game. So one game takes you to here, and that game takes you to here, and a new framework is here, and a new result is here, and you can use the information from the other game, from the old ideas to build up the new playful relationship with the people you work with, you know. And that was possible, really possible in this trio. And I've had some very, not only playful events, but for me, highly emotional events in this trio. It can be very personal, and for me, in some way, as the vocalist, they are taking my voice and transforming it and giving it back to me. That's part of what they do. They have their own sounds and their own ideas. But I hear my voice being transformed, and I say, okay, take control. Take control of my voice. Give me something I never expected. Do it. Give it to me. See what happens, because then I can jump. I can jump somewhere. I'm not always trying to find the next point, make the next good. I can go to it because you gave me the impulse to go somewhere. And those guys, they do it. They do this for me, and I try to do it for them, to give them some idea. So it's not only about me. But what's strange is that three men, of course it's three men, and you know, in this time of 2022, three men are kind of boring, but three men standing there in front of you, two of them standing up with laptops and tiny little keyboards, and me with nothing, you know, a micro on my head, and I'm sitting on a chair, or I'm standing up, and maybe I have a little book with some words in it, but so in some way it's a very, very clear scene of what's happening. In some way, everything is in front of you in many ways, which for me is, there's no hiding. There's no hiding anymore, you know. There's not a theater piece. There's no composer behind the scene. There's no regisseur who's saying good or bad. It's a live music at the time, which has good moments and great moments and ridiculous moments, like all live music does. So I hope that our collaboration keeps on going. It's hard these days to have concerts. It's just hopefully we're going back into concert life. But yeah, if we do one concert a year, we're happy. Any more than that, and it's a great thing. So yeah, that's kind of the story, and I hope it would develop into another stage. I mean, we're always talking about what could we do, what could happen next. We don't have the next step in mind, but I have the feeling that it could happen.
That's it. That's it. It will always be the same package as you wrap it and hold it in your hands, you know. And you walk along the street, around the corner, Angelo and Angela and Angela, and each one is pointing in a direction, and you don't know.